Today we're going to talk about which camera is better, the A1 Mark II or the A9 Mark III, and which one you should consider getting. Hey, I've been putting off this video for a long time because I wasn't really sure which camera was better for my use, at least, the A1 Mark II or the A9 Mark III. And so I kind of wanted to talk about these two cameras. Here they are. I love them both, and I love them for different things, but one of them I think is better than the other. But I'll get into that. First thing we're going to do is compare the megapixels. Obviously the A1 Mark II has 50 megapixels. That's 50 megapixels. Huge. Half of that, less than half that, is the A9 Mark III. So right there, that's a big deal. The A1 Mark III has a maximum frame per second rate of 30. A9 Mark III has a maximum frame rate of 120 frames per second. Both cameras have pre-capture, so they can see into the past and give you some frames depending on how far you go back, up to 1 second. So that's pretty slick. The Alpha 1 Mark II has the ability to do anti-flicker at up to 30 frames per second, which is significant. The A9 Mark III doesn't even deal with anti-flicker, doesn't have to because it doesn't even see flicker, ever. That's a big deal. In terms of banding, the A9 Mark III is reign supreme because in terms of banding, this camera doesn't see banding, like it doesn't see flicker, nothing. But the A1 Mark II does deal with banding. So even though you can deal with flicker, you can't deal with banding on this unless you go into mechanical shutter. In a lot of ways, it really comes down to megapixels versus frames per second because the cameras are so close in what they do. So who should buy the A9 Mark III? When I got serious about creating my YouTube studio, I knew I needed a solution for LED lighting. Westcott's L60Bs are fantastic and are the perfect blend of power, control, and price point. Well, first and foremost, it should be the Associated Press, for whom the camera was made in the first place. I really believe that this is a wire service camera. It fits their every need, and it's ideal for their work. The AP doesn't really know where it's going to go, so they could be in banding light or flicker light or whatever, and they just can't deal with that. They go to the Olympics all the time. Every 4 years they're at the Olympics, where there's all these, Daktronics ribbon boards, all these LED signage everywhere. This makes TV, shooting a TV image perfect. It's great. Shooters that don't need big files. Sports photographers in general don't want big files because they're shooting so many pictures. They've got to be able to edit and then get out the stuff that they're shooting. Shooters that have all the long glass they need and don't need to punch in or zoom on sensor, A9 III is a great camera. People that have money and could just buy either one or both, There's one other area where the A9 Mark III really reigns supreme, and that is if you're shooting strobes for hockey or basketball, or in some areas you can shoot strobes with volleyball, which is really cool. I've done it before. It's wonderful. Because of the global shutter, there's no comparison between this camera and any other camera, anything that Sony makes, anybody else. This camera stands alone right now. No one has, when Sony made the A9 Mark III, they threw down the gauntlet. And they produced this full frame global shutter camera. It's still unbelievable they did it. And I think it's unbelievable they did it for the price they did it. $6,000. It's like, they could have been 12 and it would have been worth it. Although don't tell the sales and marketing people I said that. Which camera do I like best? Which one do I really want to take on shoots more than the other? A1 Mark II, all the way. The A1 Mark II is just such a phenomenal camera. I don't always have the lens I want. Like Sony doesn't make an 800-5.6 yet. They don't make a 800 f4. But I can zoom on sensor with this and have still a 21 megapixel file when I go to APS-C. And so that's a huge deal. I can go to a football game and just shoot a 300-2.8 with a converter, and I can get as tight as I want to by using the punch-in feature. I love the A1 Mark II. Now the A9 Mark III is an amazing camera. It really is, but very, very, very few people really need this camera. A lot of people want it and they can buy it if they want to, but in terms of need, there's very few people. So I think most people that are really interested in having a great camera for shooting sporting events, and especially for nature, like shooting birds in flight and wildlife, A1 Mark II is the way to go, in my opinion. Thanks for watching.